This is Base Hit Ball 4.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of BASEHITBALL4. My name is Glenn D. Negris, alongside, as always, with Tyler Blumenstick, Alex Kastman, and Scott Ralsvald. This is our 6th episode, and this is finally the first time in this podcast history that we have a definitive date that Major League Baseball is going to start their 2020 season. It wasn't agreed. It was more of a mandated start date by Rob Manfred when the two sides at the end couldn't get anything done. So it's going to be a 60-game season. Spring training part 2 will start in 7 days on July 1st, and then the season will begin around 3 weeks later on July 24th. Some other news trickling. There will be a trade deadline. That'll be August 31st, so halfway through. So finally we have a start date. There will be baseball after what seemingly has been a 3-month battle between the Players Association and the MLB owners. It came down to Manfred just finally saying, you know what, this is what's going to happen. And Tyler, there's finally going to be baseball. We've been screaming about it for the last 5 episodes of this podcast, and now we can actually start talking about a season and some competitive baseball on the field rather than this just war between the two sides over money.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time. I tweeted in response to, I think it was Ken Rosenthal's tweet, and basically said it's a sucky way to get it done, but baseball's back, and that's really all we're asking for. The players said when and where. I feel like this is what they were referring to today, which is, Tuesday? So it would be yesterday by the time you guys are listening to this, most likely, if you're listening to it on the date of the podcast drop. The players agreed to report to spring training by July 1st. But yeah, we're getting baseball. And one question I have, though, I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this. I couldn't really find a definitive answer anywhere. But is there going to be spring training games or no?
I don't think it's going to be worth the risk to have teams drive or take a bus or a plane to play spring training games, because the Yankees, because of the problems in Florida right now with the spike, the Yankees and the Mets are not going down to Tampa and Port St. Lucie. They're doing their spring trainings at home in New York, and I'm sure the other teams are going to do the same thing. So I just think it's going to be like intramural scrimmages for 3 weeks. Maybe the Yankees and Mets bus somewhere to one of the stadiums and play, but I doubt it. I think it's just going to be scrimmages and practice.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything on that either. I believe the Phillies are also going to be up here in Philadelphia doing their training. But, yeah, excited that baseball finally has a date. Obviously not the way that you wanted it to happen. I was kind of disgusted by everything by the end of last week. I was pretty over it. But I was talking to my a couple other friends from college, and I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to watch as many innings as possible. I'm going to watch as many games as possible.
Time out.
Because it's baseball.
Time out. You have friends from college. It's not us.
Yeah, the guys that I lived with.
Unbelievable.
Great guys. I went to Bar A with them once. It was a great time.
I do have a few other friends. We actually talked about Glenn a lot at our house.
Oh, no. Why is that?
No, remember that time when you came over to pick up your jersey and you walked in and my buddy Dan was sitting there and we had that conversation about how you guys had a history
Oh, yeah,
class
yeah.
together.
He was in my freshman history class. That was fun.
So, yeah, I got a few other friends, Cash. I know you have a few other friends as well, so.
You shouldn't assume that.
You know what happens when you assume.
Scott, your housemates made John pose with a bottle of Captain Morgan.
That was so funny.
Yes, we did. We did it.
I'm sure John's an avid listener of this podcast.
We did it to piss off our one friend Austin, who went home for the weekend. Yeah, I still have that picture on my phone.
Can you send that
classic.
to me? Because I need that picture.
I can send that to you guys.
I was going through my camera roll, Scott, through the years, and I found this classic picture of you with like 13 Monmouth hats on during the playoffs.
Rally caps when we
didn't win that game though.
We lost to Fordham to the knuckleballer. You guys remember that? They threw a kid that threw a knuckleball and we lost.
Oh my God. Was that the same game where we decided not to bunt and we decided to just swing for the fences?
That was the that was the first game when we didn't bunt. That was against SUNY Oneonta. Game still haunts me.
Yeah, we should have bunted.
Yeah.
You live in
I was actually given the bunt. Messed it up twice, I think.
Good
And
job.
then,
Good job.
Speaking of bunting, I was watching the Michael K show today, and some old guy got on, and he was screaming about how all the players today suck and how they only hit home runs and nobody bunts anymore. So they were like, "Oh, so Francisco Lindor isn't a good player," and he was like, "He doesn't compare to the shortstops like Rizzuto and blah 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 because he doesn't know how to bunt."
it sounds like a typical WFAN caller.
It's just the old school generation just doesn't appreciate, I guess, the new game.
We're gonna
But
get those calls now
we
when
digress.
when Gleyber Torres doesn't lay down a bunt with
I
runners
don't
on
think
first and
Gleyber
second and no
Torres
outs.
has ever attempted a bunt in his
You know,
career.
I got an unpopular opinion, but
You
I
like
guess
bunting?
I happen to do. Yeah, I do like bunting. I think first and
Me too.
second, nobody out. I'm bunting 100% of the time.
Now, how about this? Perfect segue. The extra innings this year, starting in the 10th inning, they're going to put a runner on second automatically.
So
there's
I'd like to start on that.
There's couple of moves that you can do. You can either offensively you can bunt them over, or defensively you can intentionally walk and set up the force.
I'd like to start on
So
that
you're
if I
gonna
could.
you're gonna see more small ball, especially in the extra innings this year.
So, as the listeners probably know by now, I work for a minor league baseball team,
Really?
the
No
Sussex
freaking
County
way.
Miners.
Which one?
All right, you guys can hop off, but
Do you have a ring?
I loved your Father's
it's not
Day
on
video
right
you
now.
were
But
on.
yeah, I do have a ring.
Really cute Father's Day video you put together.
I actually made that video.
Did you now?
I did. Still working, laid off. How about that?
Crazy.
But so we had this rule starting last year. Starting in the 11th inning, we had it where the 10th inning is normal inning, and then starting the 11th, you put our first runner on second base. And when the season first started, I can't tell you how much I hated it. To me, it was just kind of changing the rules of the game. I mean, it is, but it's changing baseball, in my opinion. And then the season went on, and I still don't like it. I got to be honest. But it made for really exciting games. We had a game go to 18 innings because we both scored a run every inning. It was really crazy. So it kind of defeats the purpose of it that, yeah, I mean, you bunt a guy over, then you hit a sac fly, and we got a tie ball game. But to me, I thought it was really exciting because the pressure is really on the away team. You need to score that run. That runner needs to come across the plate. So I think it's cool. It's definitely a little different. I hope it doesn't happen permanently. But I think for this season, I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess for 60 games, if you promise me that'll never happen again under normal circumstances,
Nobody's
I
going
guess
to promise you that. If
I
it
guess
works out well,
I'll
it's going
buy
to
it.
happen.
Under that circumstance, I'll buy it. But like, we've learned over the last few months that baseball is not good at compromising. But if I was going to make a compromise with that, I wouldn't do it at the 10th inning. I'd start it like around the 12th inning.
Yeah, I'd say 11th or 12th inning. I think that one inning, which is what we did, one inning should be regular baseball.
It's like hockey. You get the 5-minute overtime, and then you go to the shootout.
Yeah, I would agree. I would be more on board with it if it started in the 11th. I think that's what the World Baseball Classic did a couple years ago. They implemented it when in the 11th inning, a player started out at second base. I think part of the reasoning for it is to prevent these long extra inning games. But as Cash mentioned, there's just as much of a chance, if not, there's more of a chance of scoring runs where these games could end up being long anyway.
But what's the point of it being? I mean, they're all there anyway.
Yeah.
So what's
I
the?
think
Is there a difference
it-
if they're there for 2
They want
hours or
higher
5?
scoring games. They want run cells. Run
No,
cell.
I think they're doing this as a safety precaution kind of thing.
No, so what I think it is that because they're playing so many games with such little off days, I think it does have to do with resting it. It was interesting today, actually. I was watching the Premier League, and soccer, as you know, has a running clock. And yes, the clock was running when this happened, but they had 2 water breaks halfway between each half. So a lot of leagues right now are pretty much just going like on the offensive here, trying to kind of keep their players fit and intact for the shortened and kind of unusual seasons. So I feel like that's kind of what they're getting at here.
When I played travel soccer in middle school, we had water breaks.
Yeah, but it's different. You don't stop a soccer game.
We're also playing like 20
I think
minute
Tyler
halves.
was really ready to start yelling at me for that one, but
I've watched soccer games where that's my Snapchat went off. I'm sorry. I like during the World Cup a few years ago when it's like 1,000 degrees in South Africa or wherever the World Cup is. I've seen soccer have water breaks, but they just add it to the stoppage time.
Yeah, but it's never a water break. That's the thing. It could be a substitution or whatever, but like literally flashed on the scoreboard. It said water break.
I did that at camp when I
That's
used
it.
to.
A
work
lot
at
of things
camp.
are going to be different. There's a lot
All
of
right, we
things
got
that
it.
might never go back to normal. Just
Oh,
these new
chill out over
things.
there.
What?
Are you guys
drink
having
water,
a
I
separate
understand.
conversation?
No,
Glenn,
Cash is just telling everybody how
The
much he
adults
drinks
are
water.
talking. All right, the adults are talking, Glenn.
Yeah, silence your phone, Snapchat.
Humble brag.
Okay,
Somebody
so it's
has
going to be.
friends.
Oh yeah, so many friends. Continuing our conversation about the extra innings, something I'm going to be curious to see when more details come out about this season, and more specifically when we get to the playoffs, is this extra inning rule going to be implemented as the playoffs as well? Because you see, in hockey, the regular season playoff rules are different than the postseason playoff rules. In hockey, it's 5 minutes, 3-on-3, and then a shootout, and then in the playoffs, it goes to you just keep playing normal under recreational rules until somebody scores. So something I'm curious to see is it okay? Is baseball okay with even in a season like this where a playoff game is decided by a runner on second just being there automatically?
I
So
feel like
it'd
they
be,
won't do
it'd
that.
be interesting. I would hope.
I'd like to
not.
say
Could
they
you-
wouldn't do that, but I have no faith in the league at this point, so I have
No,
no
I don't
idea.
either.
Could you imagine Game 7 of the World Series being determined by a guy that's already started the inning on second base?
Can you imagine Game 7 of the World Series being decided with Javi Baez at second base?
Wait,
You're
that means
losing.
he was the last out of the previous inning, right?
Is that how it's going to work?
I don't know.
It's the last.
I think they use a pinch runner, I guess, or an automatic.
How did
runner.
how did
No.
it work in how did it work in your league, Cash?
We used the last out of the previous inning.
Which makes sense
Yeah.
for
Mhm.
just so you don't
We
have it
did that in
backed
Little
up.
League too.
It would suck if you
Yes.
had like who's slow, like the slowest person around. Like if you had
Yachty
like
Molina.
Gary Sanchez, yeah, if you had Yachty as your runner at second, that'd be rough.
Well, I mean, at
So-
the end of the day, you got to bunt them over. So regardless, if you got a good bunt down, they're getting over.
But you
are there
can-
no outs or is there
You can
one out?
yeah,
No
you can
outs.
you can negate that by walking intentionally the first runner. You got first and second,
Okay, and
still
then you
bunt.
bunt. Second and third, nobody out.
and
I'm
then you
taking
walk
that.
another player, and then his base is loaded. You got the force, and then
What if you're
Well,
what
then
if
that's
you're the
just
home team?
ridiculous.
that's
would
not
you do that?
ridiculous.
Glenn,
Just
that
have
is
the force.
ridiculous.
If it's
A
second and
gap-
third, one out.
Okay, but then a gapper scores 3 instead of 1, Glenn. Come on.
I'm thinking like bottom of the ninth. I'm sorry, you're right. I'm thinking like bottom of the ninth situation where you're tied. You know what I'm trying to say?
I still wouldn't do that because
I'm-
if there's less than 2 outs, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, if you got a guy on second and a ground ball to the second baseman, you can still get an out. But if you get a slow ground ball to the second baseman, you try to go home with it and you miss the throw, or it's a little wide. I mean, now you're just playing with fire.
Yeah, you
I mean-
can't do that.
If you take away the DH, I guess this is just the way you get managers back in the game. Problem is, not every game goes to extra innings, so who knows?
Managers don't do anything anyway. They're robots.
We can go for an hour on this conversation.
I'm not
so-
starting this conversation right
I've
now.
had that one
because-
way too many times.
So it's going to be
Ah.
60 games in 66 days. So when I heard that, a couple problems, I thought immediately it was one, rain. It's going to be horrible to try to schedule doubleheaders.
That's true. I feel are they going to have doubleheaders scheduled? I
I
find
read
it
it
hard
would
to
be
believe
two-
they're going to.
I
don't
read it
think
was going
they-
to be 2 back-to-back 7-inning games. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I read.
I think you can't. That's one of the there's some things you just can't change with baseball, and 9 innings is that for me.
But what are we doing with divisions? Is it?
I think it's going to be the same
original
divisions. I think it's going to be the same divisions, and then like for example, the AL East will play the NL East, and then so on.
So then that list that we read off is just irrelevant now.
which list?
I believe
list
so,
with the
from like
three
the
leagues.
first episode.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
Like,
that's,
are players staying in hotels? Like, say the Yankees have to go play in Oakland or for whatever reason. Are they going to have to stay in a hotel in Oakland and then have to get food catered to them or have to go out and then
Yeah,
risk
how else will-
contracting the
how else will
virus?
it
Like,
I don't think they'd be traveling that far.
well, if it was the playoffs, it's a different story.
True.
no, I'm just talking regular season because
Well, they're
gonna
not going to
play-
schedule the Yankees in Oakland.
I mean, if you stay within the divisions of the league and you only play the opposite division, so in the Yankees' case, the NL East, the furthest they go down is Miami.
It's true.
They play Boston.
You know,
Toronto's
this
the
is-
more north they go.
This to me is what doesn't make sense because that's probably not going to happen that way. Like the Yankees probably won't play a lot of games against the NL East, which they should. as all teams in the AL East should play because they're all right next to each other. But I feel like that they're going to end up playing the National League as little as possible. I feel like there's not going to be a lot of interleague play.
So you think that they're just going to play the 3 other teams in their division
No,
for 60 games?
That's not what I said.
No, but what are you? Explain to me what you're trying to say.
First of all, there's 4 other teams in the division. Second of
I'm
all,
sorry. Yeah.
second of all, I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe that they go and play. Maybe they go up to as far as Texas and they play the Rangers in that area. I don't know.
But the
But
thing
that's
is,
the American League.
going to Texas is even further than going to Miami from New York.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it would make sense if the AL East played the NL East, but I don't know if that's how it's going to work because they're American League and National League. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
So what I'm reading here in this USA Today article is to limit travel, teams will play opponents only within their geographical region, West teams against West, and so on. So you'll see plenty of usual interleague rivals, Mets versus Yankees, Brewers versus Twins, and a few other spicy matchups like Dodgers versus Astros.
Spicy matchups.
Where any bangs of a trash can figure to reverberate
is spicy
through an
your
empty
word
stadium.
of choice, or is that the article?
The article.
There's no way Ty said spicy.
No,
I would say spicy. Well,
I've never heard you say spicy ever.
it's not my
In the
word of
4 years,
choice, but
in the 4 years we've been doing baseball shows together, you
maybe
never
we don't
said
talk
spicy.
about any spicy topics, Glenn.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Glenn just brings up boring topics. Nothing is spicy.
Wow.
All right, so that
I give
does
you guys
arise.
free reign to say whatever topic you want. Okay.
That does arise a problem for me. That does arise a problem for me. I'm gonna have to watch a lot of Yankees Braves games, and I don't like that.
Yankees. Blues.
Cash,
Oh, 'cause you're
can
a
you
Yankees
not
fan.
do this right now, please?
It's be tough for your stock, man.
Do what?
Why is that tough? Explain to me
His
why that's
stock.
tough.
His stock. He doesn't want to lose money on the Braves.
I don't
man.
want. If the Braves lose to the Yankees, that means I'm
That's
losing.
not
money.
how it works.
Just don't
Basically,
bet.
not how it works.
Bet on something else. There's other.
The
things to
Braves
bet
could
on.
win the World Series, and they could sell the least amount of jerseys they sold throughout the entire season, and guess what? Your stock is going down.
Yeah, but the chances of that are very slim.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is there's no correlation. It's like
No, I realize that, but did it get under your skin?
no. Well, I mean, yeah, a little
Well,
bit
yeah,
actually.
it did.
Because
So let's go
no,
on.
because you're taking your allegiance to the New York Yankees away.
No, I'm not.
Basically
Aren't you the one
equating the
yesterday
two.
that said you would jump ship to the Mets if A-Rod bought them.
I
That was
did not say that.
sarcastic. I said it.
Oh.
I said it. All right.
Glenn, thank you. You got
The
my back
different-
there.
The
I always
difference
have your
here-
back when you
That's a
deserve it.
lie.
But you
the
know when you
difference here is that
deserve
was
it,
sarcasm.
it's hard to
There's two-
decipher sarcasm via text.
Yeah, that's true. But I assume that
All right, so
when Cash
off-
says something over text, it's probably serious.
Probably.
And clearly very serious here because you're speaking with your voice in video chat and basically equating your Yankee fandom to your Braves fandom. So I don't
First of all, obviously, okay, it's irrelevant.
it's
How'd
not
you feel when
obvious.
the Braves gave up like 80 runs in the first inning of Game 5 last year?
Mainly, I was upset that my wallet was hurting because I did bet pretty heavily on the Braves in that game.
Cash, I have a question for you.
You told me to bet the Cardinals. I know. Let's move on. So
No, no,
I
no.
do.
No.
What?
The Yankees play the Braves.
Okay.
Who's your favorite player on the field?
Aaron Judge?
I would hope so. All right.
Who are your top 5 favorite players on the field?
They're all in pinstripes, if that's what you're asking.
Acuna
Ronald Acuna
slipping in
Jr.
there.
is my favorite non-Yankee, but the Yankees come first.
Cash is
I
also
hope
the
so.
guy who was happy when Syracuse made the tournament over Monmouth. So chose his fandom over his own university.
I can't complain about that because,
They did not deserve to make the tournament. I don't care how far they got. They did not deserve to be in that tournament.
And 2, Monmouth should just win the tournament.
Monmouth didn't even win the NIT that year. They didn't
They
deserve
deserved to get in.
We deserved it.
No.
All right, let me say something. Last thing on this topic, and then I do have an actual question. I've been a Syracuse fan for years and years. I had just gotten to Monmouth. You can't expect me to jump ship so quickly.
So that's your school, man.
Yeah, Syracuse is my school.
I would have had the same issue because if Monmouth had won that second round game, they would have played Florida at Monmouth, and I would have had an absolute meltdown at the game.
Yeah, but
Okay, thank
in
you.
the end, Scott would have rooted for Monmouth because he's a man of integrity.
Yeah, I would have rooted for Monmouth because Monmouth was the better team that year.
So a few days ago, when all the players went crazy on Twitter and said hashtag when and where, can somebody explain the whole movement to me? Because then they proceeded to reject the next offer.
Yeah,
I'm
so what
not trying to
happened-
get angry. I'm just asking.
They
so
just wanted to be told.
basically- Yeah, they felt like the MLB was basically negotiating in bad faith, and at the end of the day, they want to play baseball and they want to do it. So they're
But
basically
then
kind of egging Rob.
then they rejected the next offer.
But the offer isn't the point of when and where. The when and where is, hey, Manfred, this is clearly not working, so just set the date. That's what.
Because what the MLB,
But they
that
ended up
came
getting what they
directly-
wanted.
It's true, but that whole when and where came after the MLB pretty much just told they asked the players to waive their legal rights to file a grievance. I don't my timeline might be off, but the owners just wanted the upper hand in a legal battle should they kind of file their grievance.
Yeah, and now the
go
fact that
ahead
there
as
was
planned,
no
but-
official agreement, now the players hold on to their right to file a grievance.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's basically the gist of it. There's been too much crap going on that I just don't really know, and I don't really know how to follow it anymore. But all I know is baseball's back, and I'm happy.
And something that's going to be completely different about the next 60 games compared to 162 games is that there's going to be a lot of teams out there that over the course of a normal long season have no chance of making the playoffs and all of a sudden will. There's a lot of times where, the classic thing about the Mets is that they collapse in July, but they're normally in there around June. If you go back to last year through 50 games, I see your hand up, Cash. This isn't a classroom. You can say whatever you want.
Do you want me
The
to just interrupt you
Phillies-
then?
No, I don't, because I was talking. So last year, through 50 games, the Phillies would have won the NL East. The Cubs would have won the NL Central. And those are two teams that ended up not making the playoffs at all last year. So it's going to be a real sprint rather than a marathon. And there's going to be some teams in the playoffs, or at least contend for the playoffs, that normally wouldn't.
I disagree with this take. Because from the beginning there's only 60 games. Every single game means a lot more than 162 games would, and that's just a fact. So when a team gets off to a tough start, say they start 10-30 in the season of 162 games, they know they have a chance to make a comeback. It's a marathon, not a sprint. As you said, this is a full sprint. So teams know that going in, and they're going all out for they really need – every game is a must-win. So I think that this is a different kind of situation.
Yeah, and we brought it up that there's going to be this trade deadline on August 31st. I think that'll be interesting to see how aggressive teams will be, how willing a team might be to
So
sell
that's the other
off some
question that
pieces.
I have, and maybe you guys can answer this for me. I haven't been paying a lot of attention because I kind of lost interest.
No, it's not like
over
you
the-
are a part of a baseball podcast or anything.
No,
You need
that's
to
not
pay
what I
attention.
mean. I mean, I kind of just distanced myself a little bit because I need a breather. Question for you is, are teams going to really empty their farm system for a half a season at the trade deadline?
It's a great question. I don't think they will.
I don't think so either. I think that whoever
But that
wins the World
doesn't
Series this
that
year has an
doesn't that
asterisk.
doesn't stop a minor trade for a reliever from
That's
happening.
not what I meant. Of course, there are going to be trades, but I'm just saying, there's not going to be an Arenado trade.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Well, who's the free agent at the end of the year?
Arenado,
We don't even know what a free agent is at the end of the year.
Mookie Betts.
Do the
He's not
Dodgers?
gonna- he's not
The
gonna
Dodgers
trade
are going to
him.
be playing to win, but
Right, but what I'm saying is,
But also
they're
that
not going
ties
to.
But again, that ties into the conversation that I started about the Rockies, who might, under normal circumstance, on July 31st, be out of the race. They might be in the race. So I
But
don't
my
think
point.
huge trade deadline activity.
But my point is, on opening day, right, game 1 of 60, Aaron Boone knows that the Yankees need to win that game. All right, so you're not playing for tomorrow. You're not playing for a 162 game season. You're playing for a sprint, right? This is just a sprint. So I don't think that the good teams that end up evening out, I don't think that they're going to have stretches where they lose 7 games in a row like the Yankees had over the past few years. Like I just don't see that happening.
I don't know. It's not like you don't sleepwalk the first couple months of the season. You're trying to win those games.
I don't necessarily. I think you do unintentionally. It's a long season, so if you lose a game in April in a regular season, it's okay. We got another 150 games left. But this is teams really feel like they can only lose like 15, 20 games.
But that doesn't
So-
stop the possibility of a team like, the Mariners being there at the end of the year. That's my whole point, that there's going to be teams in contention by the end of September in game 45 that normally wouldn't be.
Well,
Because it takes
Jeremy
a while.
Frank.
It takes a few months for teams to separate themselves, and they don't have those few months. So I feel like by August, September, everyone's still going to be in. You're not going to see like 30 games back. Like the Orioles are not going to be 45 games back of the Yankees. That's just not possible. I'm not saying the Orioles can compete for a playoff spot, but those other fringe teams like, the Cubs or the Mariners or even the Angels who have Mike Trout who can finally make the playoffs, those teams are going to be in it. That's my argument.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. But
And then you can say, if that happens, if the Angels somehow win the AL West, is it legitimate?
I mean, I think it's legitimate because it's not like that one team's playing 60 games, another team's playing 80 games. They're all playing on an even field. Everyone's playing the same amount of games. Everyone's got the same scenario. Everyone's had a messed up spring training. Everyone's gone through this pandemic the same. So I think that it's a legitimate season. It's a legitimate title, but I don't think, like I said, I don't see a team emptying their farm system to trade for a guy for, another 30 games left. To me, it's risky.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jeremy Frank actually came out and put up a bunch of useful stats over the course of 60 games. He put up each team in both leagues, the American and the Nationals, their best 60-game stretch and their worst 60-game stretch. And it seemed like it was pretty consistent with the way that it usually plays out over 162. Starting here with the team's best 60-game stretch, Cleveland had the best, followed by Houston, both of them at 43 and 17. The Yankees' best 60-game stretch was 42 and 18, which is sick, by the way. That's like sickening. And then the bottom three were Seattle at 28 and 32, the Royals 26 and 34, Baltimore at 24 wins, and Detroit at 23 wins.
But is this all time or
no? This is in 2019. Their 60-game stretches. But then that was the best stretch. So each team's worst stretch, the Yankees had the best worst stretch at 37 and 23, and Detroit had the last at 12 and 48. And then you look at the National League, the Dodgers had the best worst stretch at 35 and 25, and Colorado at 16 and 44.
So I think that the bottom line of what you're saying is, if you're going to win the World Series this year, you got to be hot.
No, what I'm saying is it's going to be consistent no matter what.
No. I'm saying
extent.
no. I agree.
Do you think there's going to be no surprises in the playoffs this year?
I think it has the potential to be one or two surprises, but then again, what year haven't we had a surprise? Like, you look back in, 2017 when the Yankees played the Twins in the wild card. Nobody expected the Twins to be there. The Royals, the year they won the World Series, nobody expected the Royals to really be there.
The Mets, the year they made it to the World Series.
The Mets, same thing, that same exact year. Like, you have surprises every single year, so I don't think it's going to be different. The only thing that I think is really going to be different is because of the 60-game season, is just not going to be so much of a disparity. Like, at the end of the year, you're not going to see, for example, Baltimore this year out 30 and a half, 40 games. Yeah. Sorry, I was in the bathroom. I did hear what you were saying. I just wasn't really paying attention because my AirPods are still going. But, yeah, you're like what you said before.
So that's going to –
you're not going to see the disparity.
So the casualty of that is probably the trade deadline. We're not going to see any, like, significant crazy moves.
I've been trying to think
I
of
would
like
agree with that, for sure.
Who's a really good player on a bad team?
Mike Trout.
But what is a bad team could be 5 games out by August 31st. You know what I'm trying to say?
But I'm.
But if a bad team's 5 games out, they probably are more likely to maybe empty their farm system and try and make a run.
For who?
I don't know. I'm just saying, if a bad team is 5 games out, they're like, hey, this is our chance to get a ring.
All right. So, like, Chris Bryant, a guy who has been it's been pretty obvious that he doesn't want to be in Chicago anymore. And what if we're coming up on that August 31st trade deadline? The Cubs are, I don't know, 7-8 games back. Are they selling Chris Bryant? They holding on to Chris Bryant? I feel like he would be a guy that could be a potential trade candidate.
But then you got to look at the other way, though. They're going to want a huge haul for Chris Bryant, who's an all-star.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, who's going
to be willing to give up?
So the Phillies have been
minor league season. So who are you scouting?
It's true. So the Phillies are a team that have been somewhat linked to him because of the connection of him and Harper to Vegas. I don't know if the Phillies would load up the truck and, trade off an Alec Boehm and a Spencer Howard. I would hope not, because those two guys are, the future of this franchise along with Harper. But it would be interesting to see. I feel like teams probably will end up being hesitant about it because you just don't know what's going to happen this year. Who knows if we even finish this season? That was another thing. Like, we've already seen in the last couple of days, teams are having players test positive. The Phillies have had 10 guys test positive over the last 2-3 days. Are we even sure that the season's going to finish?
I don't think you can definitively say anything, especially if there's a second spike around October when the playoffs start. I mean, you could have this whole regular season and then the playoffs just get canceled.
Which would absolutely suck.
It would suck, but and then what do you do? Do you just crown whoever had the best record? And
No, there's no champion.
No,
just like
at that
college
point,
basketball.
there's no champion.
so, I don't know, it's there's a lot to go into just a 60-game thing. It's going to be something we've never seen ever before. And something that is a positive is that every game matters, like Cash was alluding to. Like opening day, you're in watching it almost like you're watching an NFL game because every single game.
Yeah, I am excited for that. I think that's going to be really cool, to be honest with you. I'm putting $1,000 in Yankees opening day.
Good for you.
Good for
I'm
you.
gonna check my
Good for
futures
you.
bets here. I think I
Garrett
have
Cole
a
on the mound.
World Series.
Now,
Yankee bet.
Does Vegas, do they rearrange their lines because of this?
No, the Yankees over for wins is 90. So
I'm taking it.
hammer the under. Hammer the under.
190.
What do you got?
I don't know. MLB World Series. Let's see. What are the Yankees going off at right here? Plus 450. It's pretty consistent. Dodgers plus 375. Nobody else really close, to be completely honest with you.
So I
They have
have
the Dodgers as the favorite.
Yeah, as of now. Where
So-
the Astros? Plus 1,200. That's interesting.
they're gonna get thrown out so much. It's gonna be great.
All the memes going around about that were so funny. It's like when it was like a Carlos Correa like team photo day meme, and he's going like this. He's like, "Oh shit!" And then like everyone's using it basically like when the Astros find out that the MLB is actually going to have a season.
There's another question that I thought of here, and I could be wrong, but if every game is more of a playoff feel, are we going to see guys who happen to struggle in the playoffs struggle all season? Like, is a Kershaw going to struggle with only having 60 games?
I don't
think
know.
So. I think a lot of that is the atmosphere.
So if you think about it, right, 60 games, you pitch once every 5 days. That's 12 starts if everything's perfect.
It's good
So
math.
you only got 12 starts. First of all,
And
that was
also the-
quick.
and also
First
the
of all, that
first-
was quick math. I hope everyone just acknowledges
No,
that.
I said good
Second of-
math. Did you hear me?
Cash. Good work.
Second of all, I think it's a possibility that Kershaw has a terrible season because he has been bad in the playoffs. He's been bad when pressure's on.
Now, that's where I disagree with you because, look, I don't know if it's so much the pressure of it or is it the fact that it's just
Could be
him
fatigue.
after a
Yeah, it could be
30-game
fatigue.
season. So I don't know.
It's
It's
incredibly
a good
possible.
point.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be possible that the opposite happens, that he is just completely lights out because he only has 12 starts, so there's no fatigue.
And something that's going to be completely different in terms of pitching is how managers are going to handle their starting rotation. Like normally during the first month of the season in April, a lot of this is due to the weather and how cold it is sometimes in some cities. You don't see pitchers going 8 innings in the beginning of the season because their arms aren't built up. These pitchers need to.
Yeah, I think we'll see more complete games this year than we have in a long time.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I think we're going to see more complete games this year than we have in a long time.
And I can argue the opposite, that you're going to see more shorter games than ever before because the arms aren't built up. They've been sitting around for 3 months doing nothing.
Yeah, but that's not true.
This is a 3-week spring training instead of an 8-week spring training.
Yeah, but these guys aren't sitting doing nothing, Glenn. They're all
I would
working
hope
out.
these guys have been doing their throwing program.
They throw during the winter too. They still need to build arm into.
Yeah, but it's
full
different.
effort.
I mean, I think it's different. I don't know. I don't know.
There's gonna be
It's all speculation.
And there's going to be no exhibition games. Then you're not going to get into those high pressure situations.
But you also have to remember, if
that
you're
you
only
can
going to have
accumulate in a
12,
spring training game.
you're only going to have 12 starts at the maximum.
I mean, that
Maybe
doesn't.
they're not.
That still
not as
doesn't mean you
fatigued.
just say, "Hey, throw until your arm falls off." You still got to protect
No,
these
but
guys.
there's going to be more of a opportunity to maybe throw 100 to 110 pitches rather than being pulled after 85 and 6 innings.
But can't you also say that about the relievers because you're not saving a reliever's arm for the course of a 6-month season? It's just more of a 60-game, 2-month thing.
Yeah, but
can
you have
use
to also
relievers more?
remember that a reliever can pitch 2-3 days in a row, but a starting pitcher is only going once every 5 days. So you have to remember that every series essentially means a lot, right? So you need your best relievers for each series available. Like, you want to figure that Chapman should be ready to go once a series. And that's usual. But you're not going to start throwing him for 2 innings just because it's less games, because A, you don't want to ruin his career, and B, you still do want him for October if there's no second wave.
But what let's say there's during the course of 162 games, there's some points in the summer where the Yankees have a save opportunity and they still don't put Chapman in just for load management. You really don't
Right.
have that leeway this year.
Well, I think it depends on how many games he's pitched in a row.
You can use your relievers. You can have the option or I'm at a loss for words, but you can have the pressure of needing to use Chapman more than you normally would.
I argue otherwise, though, because you have what, 60 games in 66 days. The reliever's going to be more tired than ever. They're going to be more fatigued than ever.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. You're going to use them more often within a series or within a 10-game stretch than you would in 162 games because you need to win those games. Go ahead, Tyler.
Breaking news, which you already probably would have heard at this point, but John Heyman tweets, play ball, hearing owners and players have worked it all out, and there will be baseball. Don't always trust John Heyman. But also, Jeff Passan, been waiting almost 3 months to type this. Baseball is back. A schedule is in place. Camps open July 1st.
I trust Jeff Passan more than I trust anyone.
I trust Jeff Passan more than I trust myself.
There you go.
That's a big statement there.
But Scott, do you understand what I'm trying to say with the idea of you might need to use your best relievers 4 days in a row because you need to win the games?
Yeah, absolutely. There's going to be situations where the Yankees are going to they might need to save 3-4 days in a row, and they're going to need Chapman to be out there because those games are going to matter more. But I also see what Cash is saying, where these guys have an opportunity now where you can, leave a guy out there to finish a complete game. If he's at 90 pitches going into the 9th inning, you can let him go because those innings aren't going to rack up over the season. So you're going to have that opportunity to get that complete game. We haven't seen many in the last couple of years because of this whole thing of you should only see a lineup 2 times through. Once you get to, 85, 90 pitches, you're getting pulled. Managers and front offices are trying to manage their younger arms to limit their innings. There's only so many innings this year where you're going to want your best starters out there as much as possible. The Phillies aren't going to be trying to pull Aaron Nola in the 6th inning because they're going to need him in, September. They're going to be trying to use him as much as often to win those important games because he's the best pitcher on the team. So I see both sides of the argument, and it's tough to tell right now.
And I'm sure Cash is right. What I'll say is that I don't think on July 24th on opening day, I don't think Garrett Cole is pitching 120 pitches.
Oh no, absolutely not. But
I can see that in September. No problem. Yeah.
What I don't see happening is seeing a guy like, for example, Chapman going 4 days in a row because, Boone is still going to go by his analytic book, and his analytics are going to tell him, I don't care how many games are in a season. Once you get after 3 days in a row, Chapman isn't as effective anymore. I don't agree with the analytics, but it is what it is.
And that's something that they're going to have to decipher with position players too, because resting guys is so easy during 162 games, and you really don't have that luxury now. So a guy like Gleyber Torres, who's young and he's 23 years old, and there's 60 games, he should be playing in 57. I mean,
well, see, that's where I think the Yankees are at a huge disadvantage, because a vast majority of their games, Giancarlo Stanton's the designated hitter, right? But if you look at a team that maybe doesn't have that, just one DH, you could use that as a half day off, but the Yankees don't have that privilege because Stanton can't play the field.
I think the Yankees are at an advantage because of their depth. you got Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar on the bench if somebody needs a day off.
Right, but you want your best bats out there for every one of these most important games, which could be all 60, which are all 60.
I mean, Giancarlo can still play the outfield. He's not like he can't play.
No, I'm not saying he can't, but what I'm saying is like I said, a vast majority of the time, he's the designated hitter.
I think depth.
So I think a season like this would be a huge problem for like David Ortiz or like Nelson Cruz. This is a big problem for Nelson Cruz. Or
Why?
Nelson Cruz's team, not necessarily him.
Because they don't have the flexibility to move people
Right.
around.
Right. I mean, you can't give a guy a half a day off because then you're taking your best bat out of the lineup.
Because he doesn't play the field.
Right.
Yeah, but you have a universal DH. Not that it really makes much of a difference for Nelson Cruz, but I don't think it makes much of a difference there. I
What?
don't know.
I mean, the American League teams are used to it. They have their set designated hitter.
Right. So I
Whereas-
think it's a positive for National League teams.
Yeah, for National League teams, it's gonna be great. For the Phillies, Jay
I mean, it
Bruce is gonna be
seriously
the DH.
helps out the Mets if Cespedes can play. Because then he
Yeah,
can
he's
just
not.
He doesn't need to play the – I mean, he's probably not going to
Cespedes
play.
ain't playing. Cespedes ain't playing. That guy
But
doesn't even
you can
exist
move
He's got
to-
a
anymore.
tea time tomorrow
But
morning.
you
He's
can,
not going to play
you
baseball.
can move, let's say, Cano, who's not the same.
Yeah.
You can make him the DH, and then you improve your defense.
Absolutely, and that's the thing with the Phillies. Like Jay Bruce that gets the Phillies the opportunity to slide Jay Bruce in the DH spot. But with Andrew McCutchen coming off of a torn ACL, gives them a chance to put him there. You can throw Rhys Hoskins at the DH every once in a while. You can DH Harper. It's definitely a benefit for these National League teams who haven't had this before, where they have the opportunity to get that extra bat in the lineup. They can move people around. But the American League teams, it's pretty set, I think, for the most part. Stanton's probably going to DH for the Yankees, as Cash was saying, if he stays healthy.
Oh, yeah, it's a big if.
He better stay healthy.
You would hope. You would hope. Shortened
Speaking
season.
of staying healthy, where's Greg Bird nowadays?
He's unemployed,
Texas?
isn't he?
Texas?
Maybe he's collecting unemployment.
Now
he
is-
was in the minors.
Now, it's been a while
So Greg
since
Bird and
we've
I
actually
have a lot more in common than I thought.
It's been a
Yeah.
while since we've actually talked about real baseball and
Both
lineups.
working on your golf game, too.
But, like,
We
Is
both can't hit a
Stanton-
baseball.
I'm trying to talk here. Jesus.
Listen, Glenn.
Is
The
Stanton
adults are
DH?
talking, Glenn.
Or wouldn't the Yankees lineup be better with Stanton left and Andujar at DH?
Isn't
that more pop?
But then you're
Yeah.
taking out
take
your guy Gardner.
out. You take
Yeah,
Gardner
you're taking
out. Of
Gardner out. And then when's Hicks
Left.
coming back? Probably soon at this point, right?
Hicks and Judge.
He's still out?
I heard Hicks and Judge will be ready by opening day.
Okay, so then now
Better
that
be.
it's I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have, but it's a problem because you're over. Like Gardner needs to play. My opinion, Gardner needs to play.
He's one of your only left-handed bats.
I think Hicks. If you have Hicks,
Well,
then
Hicks.
he's a lefty. Switch. Who else is a lefty? We don't have
That's it.
Didi. So yeah, it's just Hicks and Gardner. So it obviously depends on who's starting for the other team and what the matchup is. But again, going back to the Yankees, they have depth, so as Cash said, it's a good problem to have. But it is a problem.
Imagine building a stadium built for lefties and having one.
Who's not even really a power hitter.
But
Well, he
And
has
he hits-
been.
I mean, they have right-handed hitters that can just flick their wrist and go the other way. It's not like they're desperate for left-handed hitting.
Glenn, you hit lefty, right?
I do.
The Yankees
Very
should
well,
sign
too.
you.
I don't think they will.
Tell you that.
You have the hat already. It's a one less cost they
I
have.
have a hat and the 96 patch on.
Maybe they'll sign Nick instead.
They probably will.
Oh,
That's
he
definitely
hit a
more
home run on
likely.
ESPN, so
On
they can
ESPN.
go back
yeah.
and watch that footage.
I did not. I hit one home run in my life in high school. That was it.
Was it
It's
an
more
inside the
than me.
park home run?
I was not a little league home run hitter. I was a slap hitter in little league.
My brother, also a lefty, hit a home run on your high school's home field.
At PHS.
How many games did he play there?
Yep. Probably one.
And Glenn, how many games did you play there?
All of them.
All right. Well, the percentage favors the Bloomin' Sticks.
Well, actually, I hit the home run on the road too. Tyler, did you
Okay,
ever
so
play
they're
at
really
Demarest?
big.
Yeah, and I used to play in the summer there also.
Yeah, that one.
That's okay. See, I respect that because that's not an easy shot.
No, it's not.
That's a nice.
Glenn's
little
got a little
prop there.
big boy power over there.
Yeah, it's you know me. You know me.
Back to Greg Bird for a second. There was a March 3rd article saying that ex-Yankee Greg Bird is turning heads at Rangers spring training.
I'm sure
They're
he
getting
is.
duped. They're getting duped because every
If
year
I
he
had
does
a
it.
dollar for every time we heard that.
You remember he hit like 13 home runs in spring training? I was like, yep.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt.
You guys thought he was going to hit 40, and he hit like 30.
No, Glenn thought he was going to hit 40. Nobody else
I
did.
said on the air. I said on WMCX that he was going to hit 40 home runs.
I'd probably still have that file on my computer.
I hope you don't.
Wait, we have another lefty on the team. We have Jacoby Ellsbury.
No, they released him.
Really?
He's not even on
Yeah,
the
they
roster.
cut him.
Completely cut him.
He
Finally
was
got rid of
released
that
2 years ago.
albatross.
That what?
That albatross.
There you go.
Yankees don't have another switch hitter.
I don't think so.
6.
Just text. No Didi. I'm not going to believe Didi's not a Yankee until I see a Yankee game without Didi playing.
You know what's also crazy?
What's
that
the
we
catcher's name
Never
that
talked
we
about.
just drafted?
He got oh.
Oh, the Yankees just drafted a catch? I forgot it.
The catcher,
immediately
he's a
after I watched
lefty,
the
and he
game.
has a sweet swing. And you said he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So how do you not remember
I did.
that?
Hold on. I'll get it.
You know, we don't talk about this, but Romine's not a Yankee anymore.
He's on the Tigers.
Yeah, that's
He
kind
was
of
also
sad.
which is actually ironic because he fought the entire Tigers in 2017.
Isn't his
Remember that?
brother also on the Tigers?
I think he
He
was.
Why
on-
not anymore? Yeah.
Oh.
His brother's out of the
Nevertheless,
league.
I really like.
We have Mike
Romine.
Ford. He's a
Oh
lefty.
right,
That's
right.
it. Mike Ford.
Tyler Wade. Come on, you can't
Oh,
forget
wait.
these guys.
See, so much depth.
You forgot him too.
Yeah. Mike Talkman.
See, we're good.
Yeah, we're set.
A-okay from the left side.
The savior, Mike Talkman, Tyler Wade.
The sock man, as John Sterling would say. I'm interested to see how the
He's
disabled.
good. He's all right.
I'm sorry, not the disabled. The injured list, as they say now. Surprised if they're gonna. I'm wondering if they're gonna add it from 10 or make it 5. It's another thing they got to figure out.
Well, I think
If you're on
I
a 10
remember
game-
I remember seeing the pitching. The pitchers can go on the IL for 15 days, I think it is.
It's like
Hitters is still 10.
that's a quarter of the season, 15 days.
That's crazy.
Oh my
That's
god! If a
crazy
pitcher
to
gets
think.
hurt and misses like 2, I mean, a single quad strain, your season's over. It's
Just about.
just the way it is. So Aaron
It's
Judge,
just it's gonna go by so fast, but I'm
it
gonna
is
enjoy every single second of
better
it.
than nothing.
Absolutely.
I was hoping to get a little bit
Absolutely
more.
agree.
I was hoping to get in the 70 range, but the problem is they didn't want to move past the September 27th end of the regular season. They didn't want
Which
the
makes
regular season
sense.
to extend into October, which is fine. They have TV that has some sort of say, but whatever. 60 is what we're getting. And I think Trevor Bauer made a good point for once. He said, all these changes, it's for just 18 months, and then it's over, hopefully, if this virus.
At the most, 18 months.
So,
He also
I
got
know-
in a huge fight with Aubrey Huff today.
I saw part of that.
We don't have to talk about that, but
Oh my
just a note.
God loves Trevor Bauer.
I love him so much that when he said that Barry Bonds wouldn't succeed in the current day of baseball, I just couldn't
Gave
help
him
but laugh.
Standing ovation he gave him.
It was unbelievable. I hate him so much. Hate him so
So
much.
Trevor Bauer is so widely hated. He even got Kurt Schilling to go against him.
Can you imagine
The
a
most
fight-
hated man in baseball.
Wait, can you imagine a fight between Aubrey Huff and Kurt Schilling? I guess they won't because they're the same kind of person. But oh my god, baseball players are the worst sometimes.
It is true.
So Glenn, I teased you before we started.
No, I was just about to remind you.
that I want to praise you as well as call you out. It was
Oh, can you
big-
praise me first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
it
great,
was a,
thank you.
It was a big week on Twitter for you, man.
Huge.
Huge week.
Huge.
You went.
Biggest I've
You
ever
went.
had.
You went viral
I did
on
went
a
viral.
on a tweet. Call it saying that the note written
Mhm.
by Snooki and JWoww
Yes.
on Jersey Shore is a more important document
Historical
and-
document.
than the Constitution.
I stand by that.
Which it's a nice take, which proceeded to get almost 600 retweets and almost 2,000 likes.
That's
Good,
right.
Good for
Thanks,
you.
yo.
I'm proud of you. I'm
Did
proud
Kelsey
of you.
say anything about that?
I don't know. If
Kelsey's big.
she also had a nice moment a couple weeks ago. She got retweeted by Chris Harrison during one of the Bachelor season recaps.
I'd
It was a big
argue that
moment.
that's bigger than my accomplishment.
She was pretty excited about that one. But I do have to call you out
Okay, go
for
ahead.
your Ken Griffey Jr. slander
Okay.
from the other day. You saying that he wasn't, from my opinions of it, it seemed like you were knocking him as a baseball player.
I don't think I was. I don't think I said anything factually incorrect.
You weren't respecting him whatsoever.
I probably wasn't.
I didn't appreciate your attack on Ken Griffey Jr., probably one of the greatest baseball players of all time.
Do you want to go down this?
The best swing of all time. I can agree with you on
fantastic swing.
I can agree with you on the fact that he didn't do a lot of winning.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't seen the clips of him saying he didn't want to be a Yankee, and somebody asked you if you wanted Ken Griffey Jr., would you take him on your team?
Yeah.
I'm saying, of course I would take Ken Griffey Jr.
Answer the question, Glenn.
Of course I would. What I'm saying, and what my tweet stated, was that the Yankees were fine without him. In hindsight, if you look back on history, the Yankees did just fine without Ken Griffey Jr. And that's what Ken Griffey Jr. did. He went.
Ken Griffey Jr.
Hold on. He went into
also took down the Yankees in the playoffs.
Okay, one time, once.
It's his only playoff series win.
What happened the next series?
They lost.
Okay, well, I'll trade the 95 ALDS for the 5 championships the Yankees would later go on to win during Griffey's career.
Okay.
I mean,
I just feel like
my
argument
was
didn't give Griffey the respect that he deserves.
He deserves all the respect in the world. He's one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived. But when he goes into an interview room 20 years later to reminisce about his career and go on a huge thing about how much he hates the Yankees and how much he relished beating the Yankees and how he'd never play with the Yankees, I see that. I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. You never wanted to play with us. We did fine without you. If the Yankees never won, I'd be like, well, that sucks. I would.
Did you hear his reasoning behind not wanting to be a Yankee?
I agree 100% with whatever happened. It didn't look great from the Yankee point of view.
Yeah, he felt disrespected that the
he wasn't allowed in the
guard
dugout.
told him to get out of the dugout, but another player's son was allowed to be on the field.
Yeah. And, of course, you got the racial part of it, too. But I digress. But my argument is the Yankees did fine without him. That's the only thing I'll say. And
So
I was also right in saying that Griffey has the 3rd highest Hall of Fame percentage vote in history. The 2 others were Jeter and Rivera, who played during his era and won. So I'm not losing sleep that Ken Griffey Jr. was never a Yankee. That's my argument.
All right, so I got to say something.
Are you going to say that I'm a fraud?
No.
Okay.
Actually, Glenn has this problem where if somebody disagrees with him or his favorite team, or he says he doesn't like their favorite team, he's automatically a bad guy. Listen, Glenn, I'm a Yankee fan till the end, but I still love Ken Griffey, even though he got disrespected at Yankee Stadium, because he has every right to be angry. At the same token, listen, if I grew up to be a professional baseball player and I ended up playing for the Yankees, my favorite team, hating the Red Sox my whole life, if I have an interview 20 years later, you better believe that I'm going to say that I don't like the Red Sox and that I relished and I loved beating the Red Sox. Also, but just because he doesn't agree with your favorite team doesn't mean him a bad guy.
I'm not saying he needs to agree with my favorite team, but like, if it's when was Griffey's free agency?
I don't know. I didn't watch the documentary.
He got traded.
He got traded. Okay, so let's say he was in the prime of his career and he hit free agency, and the Yankees offered him $300 million, which is unheard of in the '90s. But for the sake of the argument, you saying he's not taking it? You saying his quote where he'd rather retire than play for the Yankees, even if that was the only team offering a contract? Do you think that's actually true?
Yes.
I don't.
Okay.
I think money talks at the end of the day.
Okay. We can agree to disagree, but I mean, there are some people who love to play the game of baseball for the love of the game and not for the money. And those players end up being the most successful. Just because he didn't win doesn't knock on his legacy, because Mike Trout's going to go down as one of, if not the best baseball player of all time.
I disagree. I think never winning hurts your legacy in the end.
Well, I don't agree with that, because there's 9 guys in the lineup, and one guy obviously can't do it by himself.
Dan Marino's almost an afterthought.
How are we going to compare baseball to football?
I'm not comparing.
No, but you just did. That's comparing apples to oranges. Because Mike Trout is far and away the best player in the league right now. He's got the best numbers year to year. He's penciled into an AL MVP every single year, and there's a very good chance that he never wins a World Series. and he's still going to go to the Hall of Fame. He's still going to be first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to be a unanimous vote in, and nobody's going to think twice about the fact that he didn't win a World Series.
I think
Will it help? Yes.
I think you're wrong. I think there is a thing about winning.
I agree in every other
I mean,
sport.
20 years from now, if Mike Trout breaks every single record and you interview him for this groundbreaking documentary about him, and then you bring up the point that he never win, he'll probably say, yeah, I regret never winning.
So I have a question. If someone were to walk up to you who's never seen baseball before and they asked you who the greatest baseball player of all time is, who are you saying? Because I have no idea who I would say.
So hard. It's so much harder in baseball than it is for other sports because there's so many different eras and there's so many different, moments. What you consider a great player. There's different positions: pitcher, hitter, catcher.
I feel like
I feel like you just by default you go by Ruth.
I would say the default answer is
just
Babe
a
Ruth,
knee-jerk default. You go Babe Ruth.
He probably isn't, but just because he was so dominant by his era. But I mean, Willie Mays has got to be up there. I would say Griffey's up there. Trout's,
and then of course we can get,
and then
we can get into the steroid conversation too.
Yeah, and Bonds is up there. It's a tough conversation, and because if you just look at stats on a whole, like what Griffey did as a player was absolutely phenomenal. As an individual,
and he got hurt.
He would have. It was 3 years where he got hurt, where he really struggled, but he still finished with 630 career home runs, which is insane.
It's crazy.
But I feel like he's an afterthought as well. You wouldn't bring him up in that conversation. I feel like a lot of people.
Now, do you feel like the reason why you don't do that is because he never won?
It might be that. It might be because he played.
How many times did he make the playoffs? Was it just once in '95?
95,
and then he won
97 and 2008.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. If an elementary school kid right now, when he's our age, and someone asks him who the best player of all time is, he's going to say Mike Trout, and he's not going to think twice about it.
It also, I guess it also
and he's
matters
got a fair
when
argument.
you grow up. My grandfather will say Mickey Mantle. I'll say Alex Rodriguez.
Well, we can connect it back to what you said in the beginning, where the guy called WFAN and basically compared Francisco Lindor to Phil Rizzuto. It's the same conversation.
It's just the style of baseball that you like.
It's true. I agree.
And then you got the sentimental types that will say Derek Jeter, even though he's not
I was just
talented.
Gonna say, my future kid asked me who the best baseball player of all time is. I'm probably saying Jeter. I got to be honest.
Yeah, and if you take the account of winning and how much you contributed to that, Jeter's definitely up there.
Right.
Because he definitely wasn't the most talented baseball player out there.
Mm-hmm.
He was a damn good baseball player, but he meant so much to the Yankees teams. He led those teams. Winning is important. For me, it's important.
And how about this? Can you say if somebody asked you who the best player was of all time, would it be unfair to blame Mariano for just pitching one inning at a time when he's clearly the best that's ever done what he's done?
And threw one pitch?
Yeah.
I want to retract something I said, though. I don't consider winning not important. I think that you can't hurt it against someone's legacy if they've been put in a shit situation. Like Mike Trout has been in a terrible situation since he was drafted. So I can't pin that against him. And I can't pin loyalty against him either for staying with the team that drafted him, signing with the team that drafted him. But I do consider winning extremely important, but it's tough in a sport like baseball where there's 9 guys in the lineup. One guy can hit 400 with 50 home runs and still not make the playoffs.
I mean, when it comes to Trout, what is he, 28 years old at this point?
27.
Still has a good 10, 12 years left if he stays healthy.
I don't think he wins.
So he could – who are you to say what happens in 6-7 years?
I'm just voicing my opinion, which is what we do on this podcast.
Maybe
my opinion is I don't think he wins.
Short season Angels World Series championship.
Can you imagine? Mike Trout wins a World Series. There's no fans in the ballpark to see it. And that's his own.
That would be such a shame.
Sounds about right, though.
Nobody watches him anyway because he's out there.
Yeah.
I know we watched a lot of.
How much better would it be? We got to wrap it up soon. But how much better would the game be off if Trout was on the East Coast. On
He's a lot better.
prime team. Even if he stayed out west and went to the Dodgers. If he was on a prime Yankees, Phillies, Red Sox, Dodgers, Mets, game would be so much better off. But
I mean,
he
this is
didn't
a
wanna do that.
conversation for another day, but it's just having great players on the West Coast is just such a disadvantage. Like
Mhm. For any sport.
we could talk
I mean,
about this
I
for
gotta wait till
hours.
LeBron if I want to see LeBron.
Not even 9 p.m. Like I lived with Cash for 2 years. Like Laker games could start at 8 o'clock on the West Coast. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast.
It's tough, man.
Like
Real fans do it though.
it's crazy. And even you flip it the other way around, like you have like a Dodgers Giants, like say it's like a what is it? Thursday night baseball, Wednesday night baseball, whatever the big midweek one is. It's Wednesday, right?
Wednesday.
So you have like Dodgers Giants, 8 o'clock start on the East Coast. That's a 5 o'clock start in California. Like people are working on a Wednesday in California. And that's why the Dodgers have so many issues. Because of the TV schedule, like people are just getting there halfway through the game.
Also, getting to Dodger Stadium's a nightmare.
It's true. I mean, we can. I've never been, but we could table this to another day. But that is.
Dodger Stadium's awesome.
It is. It's just a rough situation just because of the time difference, and it'll never change because you're not going to change time. But
I think we should change time.
It's
I think
weird.
everyone should be on the same time universally.
I think we should just all do what you say. You should run all
It's
time.
about time somebody agreed with me.
Commissioner of the world.
I think you should
Commissioner
just
of the
set the
world.
schedule for everything ever. I
I
think that's
agree.
the way it should go.
No, I agree. Wholeheartedly.
So you should say when this podcast is over.
Yeah, which is now. Guys,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
that
I'll
was a
listen.
terrible outro.
great,
Well, I'll do.
great wrap up.
I didn't ask final thoughts yet.
We know Cash's final thoughts. He wants to go to sleep.
Cash, do you have final
done.
thought?
Yeah, my final thought is my hated person of the week. I'm doubling up on
Yes.
Rob Manfred.
It's
He
still
gave
good.
us baseball.
Yeah, but he didn't. In my opinion, and this is my final thought, right? He is going to go down as the worst commissioner in all of sports of all time.
Probably.
Yeah, I would actually agree with you on that.
Got final
For
thought.
once.
Baseball is back. It obviously did not, go the way we all thought it would go peacefully, but it's back. I'm going to watch every single inning possible, and I'm happy I'll be able to watch some baseball this summer. Makes me happy again.
Tyler, final thought?
So over the course of this baseball return to play fiasco, we've realized that there are a lot of bad actors in the sports media world and a lot of people rooting against sports. So with that, I'd like to kind of take a subtle jab and a little minor plug here. Caps on Sports and BASEHITBALL4 will never kind of go that route, and we're trying to kind of flip the script here and give very honest, intelligent kind of reporting on stuff, although we don't have the inside scoop on a lot of things, but
No.
Gotta
we
get
don't
our connections.
we don't give you more than there is and more than the public knows, and it'll stay that way forever. So as much as the clown John Heyman wants to go being a Boris mouthpiece, I mean that's just how it is. But
The way it is?
yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay, my final thought is that the note from Jersey Shore is a more important historical document than the Constitution. I don't think that can be
Hashtag
debated.
Twitter saw it first.
Twitter saw it first. All right, that'll just about do it for this episode of Baseball 4. Next week, spring training will start. Next week, we'll give our full-on predictions for each division and the playoffs and all that. Finally get to do that because finally we have a season. For Alex Cashman, Scott Roswald, and Tyler Blumenstick, my name is Glenn Denegris. See you later, and we'll see you next week.